It is a rainy Wednesday afternoon. I have a hot chocolate. I'm nearly done for the day. And we're going to talk about burnout, which has to be one of my favorite topics to talk about because the whole reason I got into everything I do now is because I burnt out 10 years ago. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background and then we're going to talk all about the real causes of burnout because everyone tells you, oh, it's physical, you're overexerting yourself, you're doing too much. And I'm like, burnout has a deeply energetic and deeply emotional root cause. Yes, we can burn out when we're doing too much physically, but ultimately, we burn ourselves out on an emotional, mental, and energetic level. So I'm going to dive into that. First of all, if you don't know me, I'm Antonia, this is my channel, and I love to talk about all the hidden patterns that exist within us that are the driving forces of our life and how we can start to dismantle them and come into deeper levels of self-awareness so we can live with a bit more compassion for who we are and feeling much more confident in who we are as well. So 10 years ago, I was living and working in London. I worked kind of as a PA, like a do-it-all kind of girl for a one boss, and we worked in an office, and I used to run around doing all kinds of different jobs. And I got to the stage where I was exercising all the time. I was drinking and partying. I was cycling all around London, getting from A to B. I love a road bike. I love a cycle. But I was putting on weight. I was hormonally all over the place. I was very, very puffy. I was exhausted. I was crying all the time, especially when it came to work. I was really getting highly, highly stressed. And I got burnout when I actually signed myself off from work, hoofed it home, stay with my parents. And I remember sitting in the car with my mum and I just was crying and I didn't know why. And I did not have the levels of emotional awareness that I have now. And I just couldn't understand what had gone wrong. And now I know. So we are going to talk about some of those non-physical causes of burnout. And, it is fascinating. The first thing I will say is if you have particular energies in your soul contract, you may be more susceptible to burnout. And I tell you what they are. And if you don't know what energies you have in your soul contract, I put all the links down below. So your soul contract has these energies that can become a little bit of a driving force in your life, and we're always here to work with them, not against them. And some of the biggest burnout energies are having a 12-3, which is very expansive in nature. I have two of them. Having a 14-5, which can create a lot of intensity in our lives, especially in our relationships, because we're always trying to know who we are. 9-9s, which is like this pure soul, raw power that can really burn out our conscious personalities. And then we have the 6s, which are trying to spin 10 different plates at a time and getting really unfocused and scattered and tired. We've got the 8s. The 8s struggle with boundaries. We'll talk about those in a minute. And then we have, no, that was it. I just repeated myself. So let's talk about the first reason. So we are cyclical. And so we have periods when we are in expansion and when we're in contraction. And often we get it very confused and mixed up. And we expand when we are really needing to contract. So like we breathing in and breathing out, like the waves come up and then down again, like we have the different seasons. Spring is all about blooming and flourishing. Summer is a more intensive, active energy. Autumn, we are sliding down and slowly unfurling, and then winter is the hibernation and rest. Doesn't mean we can't work in winter and autumn, but we just have to be a little bit conscious that our bodies are like the rhythms in nature. And it may be a much different cycle. So for me, I have days where I feel very expansive and I can do loads of things. And then the next day I'm in contraction and I cannot create, I cannot think, I cannot really function so well. My creative energies are just non-existent. So we have to be really conscious of when we are in a contracted state or in an expansive or a contracted state, and not try and push ourselves, because I promise you, and I've learned from experience, when I try to expand and create and do on a day where I'm very contracted, nothing works. Tech doesn't work. My energy doesn't work. I get so tired and drained. So be careful of that one. Okay, the other reason that is driving our burnout is when we are doing too much in order to prove ourselves. Now, this is a very subtle one, it's very under the surface, but quite often we think we need to do more in order to be more. And I always say we are human beings, not human doings, yet our cultural conditioning, our parents, the schools we brought up in, all convey the same message of you've got to do more, you've got to do more, and then you'll be more. And actually, you're enough as you are. So just be careful of when you're doing too much, what is the force behind it? Is it, I need to prove myself? And often we need to prove ourselves to the people we work with and work for, to our parents, but we also sometimes feel a need to prove our goodness and our value to society as a whole. So we've got to be cautious of that one. Two more. I mentioned boundaries earlier. We get into a state of burnout when we give too much, and it builds into resentment and tiredness. We have to be very, very conscious of keeping that lovely cycle of giving and receiving, which kind of flows in and out. Again, it's a lovely in and out energy. We have to be very conscious of not over-giving and overextending to the point where we cannot fill our own cup. We cannot give if we cannot receive because our cup is empty. So we have to learn to receive. And that is, again, to do with I am worthy of receiving. I deserve to receive support, love, help, joy, and rest. Rest, rest, rest. People with burnout who suffer from it, whether it's a continual thing that they have in their lives or whether it's a one-time thing that they're going through right now. I don't know what it is for you, but you need to rest. It's a hard thing to do though. Okay, the last thing, which is really important, which is linked to that, is where are you in denial? Where are you not being honest with yourself about your needs? And often we can be really scared to admit what we need because sometimes we put ourselves in these roles, a family role or a work role, where we are the giver or we are the doer. And so to step out of that role may feel like a big vulnerability, but it's really important to do. The other thing is we need to be honest when we need to make changes in our lives. And I'll tell you what, when I had burnout 10 years ago, I used to turn up late to restaurants to meet my friends and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I was so busy, I'm so stressed. And I wore it like a badge of honor, like a pride of look how busy and important I am. So there can be a little bit of alter ego just sneaking in there. And we call this a secondary gain. It's like being ill. There can be a secondary gain to being ill that is more coming from the ego of, oh, if I'm ill, then I may get sympathy. If I'm ill, then I may get the help that I want, but I can't ask for. So be conscious of the secondary gain of your burnout. And I think that wraps it up. Hopefully that helps in some way if you are struggling or if you are stuck in those cycles. I get stuck in them as well. It's okay. It's really normal. And I wish you a very beautiful rest of your day. And I hope it's peaceful and calm and relaxing.